Hey there guys, it's Joey. I am in front of the camera. The aircon is on, so I apologise if you can hear that in the background. I can't go in the other room because I usually either record in the front of the house or in the back of the house. And in the front of the house, they have a great big digger in the front garden. And out the back, there's something going on. I have the aircon on, so I'm just hoping you can still hear me. And I want to get this video done, and I have a list. I was like, I need to do this, this, and this. We need to crack on. I don't know what the matter with me is. My energy's like this. So I'm going to play some crystals, and we're going to talk about something that I was thinking about this morning, and it was, I'm going to call the video possibly Can I Trust You? And it's basically discussing the whole concept of seeking spiritual advice, spiritual nourishment, or spiritual debate with another individual, and my experience with it, positive and negative. And it's very relevant to me right now, very, very relevant to me. And you know, you see some really negative comments, like people thinking they're the new whiz kid on the block or messiah, or you know. And I quite frequently start my videos by, and I must start doing it with every video, I think, because on the ones where I forget to do it is where I usually get some comment about it, is that everything I discuss and share is just me. It's me sharing my experiences of this path. It's just me allowing the world at large a little glimpse into my spiritual path, mainly. But sometimes things which are a little bit off that well-beaten track, but especially with me because I'm a Fruit Loop. But generally speaking, it's just me sharing things. You know, I'll share altars, I'll share things I've made, I'll share experiences. Occasionally I'll get a bit irritable and share what, you know, that if that face is the one that's down on there, that will be lovely. Right. Or that one. Okay, so literally I'm just sharing what I want to share. And I originally started doing this because I just don't have anybody in the physical realm who I can talk to these things about these things with. And every time I had tried, it was a really overwhelmingly negative experience, because you feel a bit like, up until a certain point I couldn't really express what I felt properly until I'd done a lot more research and this, that and the other. And then it's very varied. A lot of witchy paths or pagan paths are so hugely personal and varied, and you feel like sometimes you're talking to people, you can feel like you're doing something wrong, even though you're not doing anything wrong. It's just an expression of who you are. Okay, so with that being said, then I'm now in the position where I sometimes have people come to me and want to talk to me, or debate with me, or discuss with me, or question me. Keep it nice, keep it above board, about certain areas of spirituality. And at no point have I ever said I'm a teacher or a guru or anything like that. And I will never say that, because I don't have any sorts of qualifications of any type. It's a little bit more difficult with spirituality, obviously, but I'm sure you can get degrees and doctorates and things of some description. So I haven't got that. And then some people would argue that a piece of paper doesn't make you a teacher, and that's fair enough. But the way that I see it, me personally, the way I see it is, this is who I am. This is my energy, my spirit, my soul, my Fruit Loopy self. Right there. I'm putting some of that out there into the world because I feel that there are things that I want to talk about, I want to discuss, and I'm severely limited, other than the internet, which is my fantastic tool of choice to get that out there, to talk to discuss, and I love talking and discussing and debating things with people, you know, I enjoy that. I'm a Virgo, I live in my brain. No, not really, but I'm here and all over, yeah. I actually live by my heart, actually. I'm a bit weird, like, I'm not stereotypical Virgo like that. So, it actually, that's what it is. It's me taking a piece of my heart and being like, let me show you one. And it doesn't make me right, and it doesn't make me wrong, and it just means that I am sharing. And I enjoy sharing, and I'm not going to stop sharing because I enjoy that. It's part of my life, and it's a regular routine and ritual now. And then recently, of course, like I said, I've had people come and start discussing and wanting to talk about things, and then I'm always quite wary of this, because I don't want at any point for someone to think that I'm telling them that I know everything, because I don't know everything. I don't know everything at all. And apart from anything, I honestly believe that witches shouldn't ever feel like they know it all, because witches and related paths, in fact spiritual paths in general, should be a journey. It's not about how long you've been at it. It's not about what you think you know. It's not about this, and this. It's sort of embracing any new information. It's reading, it's studying, it's listening to people. It's incorporating parts of that into yourself, and whether or not you, I mean, it's a very humbling thing when you think about, and I could do this if I'm feeling a bit full of myself. Not really. I do this anyway, is I think about the pure amount of information out there that I do not know. And there is so much information out there that I do not know and will never be able to absorb in my lifetime. An example of this is when I watch stuff like, you know, the extras on movie videos, and they show you all the special effects being made, and like the green screens and the videos and everything going on behind the scenes, and my mind just goes, because I have no idea how any of that works, and I probably never will. And then there are, you know, this is why people specialize, because there's so many areas. There's just so much knowledge. Too much knowledge. Too many books I'll never read. My throat, I swear. Right, so the point in case being that I will never fully understand everything. Not within the world, and not within the spiritual path. And I'm also on my own experience, which is why I occasionally get a bit uppity about when you see people copying it. I think they're very able to put it copy and paste, which is, it's that, you know, you do it this way, so I'm going to take what you've done. And it's like, no, you're not engaging, you're not investigating, you're not exploring, you're not questioning. And I need that. If I'm going to have anything with anybody, like I've recently had someone come to me, and me and them are having a spiritual discourse, and for the first time I think ever it's actually working, because they have their point of view and I have my point of view, and we talk, but then it's like this, it's like, but I think this, and I think that, and it's detangling the similar feelings and the similar meanings, and it's great. Whereas when, you know, especially, I don't want to say young, but you know, when you're very, very new to it, a lot of people just absorb like a sponge, and they just, rather than, okay, let's try and think back. It's like, okay, I kind of like that, I'll take it, rather than, okay, who said this, and why did they say it, and what did they say it about, and why do I think they said it, and what is their background, and are they going to be biased, and have they got some sort of grudge against, and have they got a negative outlook on something else, and what about this, and I'm running out of things that I can visibly say, but it's basically unraveling something rather than accepting it on principle. And that's why I often say, you know, when you're going with the books, if you read something that you don't agree with, just take your pencil and make a mark next to it and say you don't agree with it. And you can even go back and investigate why your gut reaction was to not accept that, because that's healthy and not, I don't want to say necessary because it's making me sound like, I think it's necessary. I think investigative ways of thinking, critical thinking, the where, the why, the who, the what, is worth exploring. There's nothing wrong with having a rational approach to spirituality, and that's why I often really dislike the whole idea that you cannot be critically minded within spirituality. It's like, yes, you can believe, but does that mean that you can't investigate, you can't explore, you can't, just because they're not, they should not be separate things, you know? You can explore and question everything, and that should be your right to do so. You should be free to question it. And in a spiritual sense, when you have a teacher, you should be free to question it. And like, I've made videos where I have talked about searching for the truth. I can't remember what the video was, but I gave 3 examples of something, and I was like, pick the false one. And I can't remember if they were all true or they were all false, but I made out, in fact I think they were all false, and I actually looked down and didn't look at the camera or anything and said, you know, figure out which one's false. And actually what was false was the idea that one of them was false, because they were all false based on the truth. So like, I studied, what have I not studied? I don't know. Okay, my favourite subject is science, and then, you know, maybe my favourite subject is English, but it's just a little bit off the track. But it's basically about questioning where all your information comes from. Now, I wanted to talk about this because, like, whilst I'm having this really positive experience right now, spirituality. So I saw a flash underneath me, and I was like, well, I'm like, I swear, I'm like a magpie. Shiny things. Right, so I've also had negative experiences with the whole people coming to me for advice and me seeking out advice. I think I've actually, I've actually mentioned me searching out advice a little bit already, so we'll talk about negative experiences with people coming to me for advice. The problem that I've had is, if I let people in to my life and I'm not wary, it sometimes ends up quite negative as an experience. I've had experiences where I've thought the person was a good person, and, you know, they're not a bad person. It's just that some of their actions then started to become dubious. And when you have people flat out, you find out people are flat out pretty much subverting the truth to you, and, you know, why. One other thing I had was, if I decide to do something, if I decide to make a video, if I decide to reach out to somebody, then that's my decision and I will make it. And I actually had somebody who was supposed to be, you know, not, I don't know if you call it learning from me, but whom I was sharing experiences with, and they were sharing experience with me, sort of have a go at me for deciding to do that. And I found out that they were interacting with the person and leaving them comments and whatnot, and I was like, well, I've just seen that you've left that person a comment, why are you telling me that I ought not to make my video or talk to this person or whatever? And so, you know, I've had that where it becomes like a power play and it becomes like some sort of nonsense, and it's like, well, that's not about the exchange of spiritual information, it's just taking, and this is the other side of a negative experience I had, was where it was every single day. And if you're one of these people that can interact with people every single day and you're full of energy and you can keep giving and you, I mean, hopefully with a healthy relationship with anybody, with friend, whatever, it's back and forth. So, you know, it's the sharing of things, which I'm having an experience like that now, and I understand that because I get experience, they get experience. I get knowledge, they get knowledge. I get questioned, they get questioned, and that's great. I'm loving that experience. But in my negative experience before, it was literally every single day, and it was just wearing me out. Like, I don't have the energy, I don't have the time. And even with people who I love to death, so my real life sister, I love her to death. If she needs me, I will be there for her in a flash. We share information a lot, but sometimes, some days I need time to myself, and not even my sister would be able to get, I would unhook the phone and I would probably go out in nature or something, because I need time to recover and recuperate. And then people get to the point where they feel like you owe them or something, and like, that you should be there when they want to speak to you, and they're all the time, and it's just exhausting. And I don't think you're actually learning anything at that point either. It's like a dependency comes about, rather than, for whatever reason, rather than it being a sharing. So, right, this is not to put people off from contacting me for information, okay? Not at all. If you want to talk to me about whatever, within reason, I'm happy to talk to people about stuff, but I do not think of myself as being overly knowledgeable. I'm not a newbie either. I've been at this quite some time, and people often sort of need to know how long you've been at it. Shouldn't have said that. How long you can go. It's important, ladies. Right. Well, for the ladies, to know how long you can go. Anyway, right. It's important for some people to know how long you've been studying, and that's, how long you've studied, how long you've been active, and some people need that information. Me personally, not so much. I'm just interested in the sharing. Yes, it sounds like a horror movie. The sharing. I don't know what my rhythm is. I put myself off by saying it matters how long you can go, and now I can't stop giggling. Okay. Yes, right. Start again. So, it doesn't matter to me how long you've been studying. It's more about your attitude towards information / learning, and how you treat people, right? Because there is a negative side of teachers, I know, that sometimes comes across. Now, certain people sort of treat them like they're on a pedestal, say, and then they start to act like they're on a pedestal, and it's infuriating. It's egotistical. It's not really helping me. It's not really helping you. So I try my very, very best not to act like that. I apologise if I ever do, because sometimes I just sort of just talk and don't even think, That sounds bad, doesn't it? I talk without engaging my brain, can you tell? But I may come across as being a narrator without really thinking that I am. I don't consider myself to be knowledgeable particularly. I study hard, and study hard, play hard, study hard, play hard. I don't know where this is going. My brain is on the fritz, I swear. Is this energy exchange? You know who you are. It's making me question every single thing that I think, and it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. It's like, question you, and I'm like, okay. So, So I don't think that, you know, that I'm more knowledgeable, but if you want to engage with me in information, I will share my experiences with you. That's the crux of what we're getting at. The other side of the trust thing is because of how badly I've been burnt by people that I have opened my life up to, even in recent times. Like, and I've got more and more wary in recent times. Like, you see people who are there, they're clicking and they're sharing information and they're excited and they're buzzing and it's fantastic. And I sometimes feel a bit like a stick in the mud because I'm slow. I'm a snail. That's snail in English. I take my time to open up to people. I take my time to get to know people. I sort of pad like a cat. I am everybody pad like a cat. I feel my way through things with most people. Sometimes I connect to someone I didn't expect to, and then it's completely different because it's bizarre. But especially for me, because I'm introverted sometimes, and I need my own space sometimes, and I need to rest and recoup sometimes, you know. So some days I want to make videos for a couple of days just to allow me that time. And it takes me time to trust people. So if you know, I want your information. Well, okay, but why? Why would you like this information? Is this your path? Why do you want to get to know me? I take my time, and I honestly, I know that people might disagree because I get quite bouncy on my videos, but I can be quite reserved, especially like social media and stuff. And it's not, I've been told I come across as cold sometimes, and it's not because I'm trying to be cold, it's because I prefer to listen to start with and sort of feel out where things are. And like, I'm not good in big groups of people either, because then I can't get a sense of my bearings. Like, I prefer 2 or 3 people in a real life conversation, and I can cope with that because you can feel out the flow of things, you can discuss things, you can have a laugh and get to know them. Whereas in big groups of people, I feel a bit lost sometimes. It's an empath type thing as well. Like, if you're bombarded by emotions, it's difficult. So, you know, if you would like to talk to me about information about whatever, that's fine. But I will likely be quite reserved, and it's nothing to do with anybody but me. You know, I'm taking my time and making sure it's not going to get any of this nonsense that I got before, and trying to feel out that, you know, it's not going to be like game players. And I was actually talking to my spiritual buddy. I'll get told off for calling them that. That's what I'm going to call them. My spiritual buddy. We're talking about game playing today, actually, and it's interesting that it came up, and I actually shared that experience that I had with someone else when they'd been game playing with me. And I was like, I don't feel that it's my right to say anything to anybody else in the community. Like, you know, some people would be like, watch out for this person, they totally screwed me over, and I don't feel right in doing that, because, like, you don't know that you kind of know that they've done it on purpose, because they've definitely done it, but it's still personal to you and them. It doesn't mean that they're doing it to everyone else, and if they are doing it to anybody else, then you have to allow other people you have to believe that they will figure it out for themselves at some point, because usually these people are nicey on overload until you find out that something's going on behind the scenes. And I hate liars, and I hate being lied to. I can't cope with it, really, because it's like, well, and there's a control thing going on there as well, and that's something else I'm having to deal with, is people who want to control things. Like, who other people who you talk to. Like, don't come to me looking for a spiritual friend and talking about this, that, and the other, and then try and stop me from talking to other people. I was really angry at that. And it's just like, you talk to this person. Why shouldn't I engage? Doesn't matter. It's done. It's dealt with. But I know I get talked about as well, and it drives me nuts. It's like, because I'm not full on out there, I know I get talked about, and people are a bit like, well, I don't know her as well as I should, so maybe it's true. And it's just like, okay. And you get people coming to you going, did you say this? And are you a bitch? And you're like, really? I'm just me. I'm just trying to make my way in the world with my stick, pedaling along the road now. Like a hermit. So I'm wary of the sharing of information, because of when the sharing of information becomes game playing is what I'm trying to get at, and it becomes like a power struggle. And like my spiritual buddy and I were talking about the realm of the ego, and like moving past things like this, and it's so difficult, especially engaging with other people, when it suddenly becomes about that sort of egotistical power relationship rather than the sharing of information. And there's this definite need to have this teacher role and this student role, like you're somehow lesser or that you're somehow more, and it kind of stops freedom of information, and it stops free thinking, because you get stuck in those roles rather than being allowed to question. And some people are very, very angry when you question what they've said to you. And I'm very careful about talking to young people in particular, because of, you know, that sometimes they feel quite self-assured when they're younger. And that's something that we all do. We feel more self-assured as teenagers, and then we sort of grow up and we realise the world is so big. There's so much I never know. Some people get that early on, some people get that later, some people never get it. And then, you know, and then you get people belittling the information that you do have, which is another problem. And it's like, I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong, so why have I got people? I keep saying, I'm not telling anyone they're wrong, so why am I getting this? I've had people tell me, you are not a blank, so therefore you don't understand. I've had that in every walk of life. You know, so, and just because I don't have the exact same experience as you doesn't mean I don't have something to bring to the table, or a situation of some relevant kind to bring to the, and I'm pretty free with what I talk about. There's not many things that I won't share. There are, you know, I'm not going to share personal details to the point of embarrassment and cringy worthy, because I, especially if it's not mine, that's something I really disagree with. You know, if it was about my sister and it was a painful experience that she'd had, I wouldn't share that, for example. With the universe at large. So the problem with, you know, building up trust with people that you share information with is it takes time for me. Well, for me, okay. And like I said, this is all just me talking like a nutter in front of the camera. And I need that time to get to know people, and I'm slow. I'm a snail. I like to get to know people. I like to get to know bits about their lives. I enjoy watching videos where you see things into people's lives, because it's another form of getting to know somebody. I don't think that you need to be in anybody's pockets all the time, personally, to have a really deep connection with somebody. I mean, you know, some people want to be around certain people all the time, and they can chat all the time, and it's healthy, and it's fun, and it's fantastic. Miss Punky Bruiser and Lady Gravedancer have such a relationship right now, and you see them and you can't help but smile. They're like little rays of sunshine, and then having that experience where they're sharing that information. And I think Lady Gravedancer had it right in her video when she was saying, you know, you have to, I don't want anyone to be a copy and paste switch. I have to allow them to arrive at their own conclusions, and I think that is spot on. Spending too much time with my spirit friend. Spot on. I'm gonna get in trouble. So, let me see, did I cover everything I wanted to talk about for spiritual advice? So, I wanted to cover the fact that, you know, nobody is all-knowing. I don't consider myself to be all-knowing. There's plenty of stuff, and it overwhelms me sometimes about the pure amount of stuff that I just don't fathom. The stuff I can't get my mind around, it boggles my brain. And I enjoy engaging with stuff. You know, there are people on YouTube who take things from a slightly different perspective. For Queens is one. And I will literally sit down with her videos for a whole day because my mind will be like, and absorbing and thinking about it in my head. And it's a very intellectual pursuit in that sense. But we have to remember spirituality is about heart and feeling and emotion and something more as well. So it's all deeply emotional, and people feel emotional about their stuff. So that's kind of why you can't have copy and pasting, because basically you're imprinting yourself on to somebody's personal space, somebody's personal belief system, someone's personal experiences without having those experiences. It's like you're trying to steal from them, and that's why people get affronted at the core of it. I am slow to get to know people. I take my time. I try and cheer people up if I see people are down. I try and be helpful if I can, and I just like to take my time with getting to know people, and I'm trying to work on that in some respects, but in other respects I think I'm right. I think it's the better thing for me to do, to take my time in getting to know people. I'm never going to be one of those people that's going to be every single day like messaging all the time, and I don't like the idea of being inconvenient to people. And I'm sure it's a bit of a psychosis in my head about, you know, it's from a negative place. I'm sure of it. In fact, I know where it's from. It's basically from upbringing about being an inconvenience. But it's not that I feel that I'm inconveniencing people all the time when I'm talking to them. But I don't want to be like pressuring them, and like I don't want to be like every single day like bombarding people. And I think it's just like unfair energy exchange when it's a teacher relationship in particular, like constantly bombarding people. It's like, well, that's not to say some people don't have a really healthy relationship and they talk every day, because I've already said, you know, people do, but I don't want to be an inconvenience. God, that sounds awful. Okay, but there's a truth to that. I've felt like I inconvenience people my whole life. I think we're working through my psychosis right now. And people say that to me to hurt me, and I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be take. And I actually spoke to a counsellor about it, and they were like, you have to realise that you are giving in ways that aren't within the realms of perhaps how... Okay, let's do a story. My value to my mother was how much money I was bringing in from the age of 15. You know, like, if you're not paying to be here, what's the point in you? If you're not giving me something, what's the point in you? And I have real issues with shrugging that off. I'm in a position right now where I'm not working particularly. I've started trying to get my website together to sell things, and I'm still in the process of writing because that's what I want to do. But I don't technically bring in like a regular salary, and it has been a source of pain for me. So within trust relationships, within sparing you from my rants, that's what it's all about. sharing spiritual information, sometimes I feel like I can be quite strong and like headstrong, and I'm quite articulate as well, and sometimes it overpowers people, and I think a mile a minute. My mouth can't keep up, can you tell? And I don't want to infringe on anybody else's spiritual path. That's what I'm getting at. I don't want to dictate somebody's spiritual path to anybody, and I don't want anybody to take my spiritual path and pretend it's their own. I can't stand either of those ideas. It just bugs me. It just bugs me. So let's just finish up by saying I don't mind anybody asking me any questions. It's fine. God, I'm 36 minutes been rambling like nuts. I don't mind that at all. And if you want to talk to me about the Morrigan or my experiences with the Morrigan or anything like that, I will try my best, right? I'm not going to have all the answers for you, and quite often things like research, I suggest you go find it, because you can find most of the things online. And anyway, a lot of the stuff with the Morrigan is personal interaction with the Morrigan. The Morrigan was very firm with me about me having, I think, was it a month or two of interactions with her before I was allowed to buy any books. And she was quite firm with me like that, because I'm a bookworm. Like, you know, you can see, that way, but you can see behind me, that's just one of 5. And I read and 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 read. And she was very much like, you're having 2 months of interactions with me on like a meditation basis before you're allowed to. I was like, alright. And that's, the rune thing has actually been really good for that, because you're actually documenting your experiences. So, yes. So if you want to come talk to me about anything like that, feel free. I don't mind. But please bear in mind everything else I've said. I shan't repeat it, or it'll be 40 odd minutes. And we're nearly there already. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope I have not bored you all to death. Many blessings.